Before the video starts, I just want to say I have an Instagram that you can follow. I do post my cat on there, some memes, and some other stuff too, so if you're interested in that kind of shit, go follow me. Alright, thanks.
Welcome to the world of Tales from the Trip.
My first time doing Salvia was pretty intense. Me and my friends had just gone to go and get some Salvia. One of my friends had already done some 40x and thought it would be funny if we went straight to 100x, so I bought some. We went back to my friend's neighborhood to this giant gazebo to smoke the Salvia. We smoked some weed to calm our nerves a bit, and then we started. My friend and I played rock, paper, scissors to see who would go first. Well, I lost, so it was me going first. They all packed me a bowl of the 100x and then had me put it to my lips. I inhaled almost the entirety of the bowl. It was really packed. Then I handed it to my friend to do the little that was left. My friends then proceeded to pack one more bowl, then hand it to me again. At this point, everything started to hit, and I took the entirety of the second bowl. I held both hits in as long as I could, and then everything just became confusing. Looking around at all my friends scared me a bit. They didn't appear human. They looked like these waxy alien creatures, and I couldn't tell they were human. They tried showing me their shirts, thinking it would be trippy for me to look at, but when I stared at them, they just appeared to fuse with all the surroundings around them, becoming this scary blob of a being. I turned my head to some of my other friends, and they were talking to me, but I couldn't make sense of anything they were saying to me. The only thing I could mutter was, "I'm confused." It was the only thing that made sense to me up until that point. I then remember putting my head down in the park bench we had been sitting at, and then the weirdest and scariest part of the trip happened. I began to fuse and become the bench I had just put my head in, and the feeling was indescribable. It felt as if I were continuously being jolted back and forth through the bench, and the only thing I could make out was the bench itself. I lost all sense of time and reality, as it felt as if I had been the bench for what felt like lifetimes. Eventually, I came to the conclusion that this was my hell, and I was paying for all my sins up until now. This had to be hell. I then had the sudden urge to get out of that situation, once realizing it was hell, so I jumped back out of my seat as hard as I could, sending me flying backwards, slamming me to the ground. I got up instantly and walked towards this gate with some rose bushes behind it, and for whatever reason, it was able to ground me. I was able to recall who I was since smoking it, and I was able to recall what I did, smoke Salvia. This helped me greatly, as I was able to now enjoy the trip. I walked around the park for a bit until the trip finally started to wear off. I got onto the floor once the trip had fully subsided, and just started laughing, thinking about how weird and bizarre what I had gone through was. My other friend, the only person to smoke some, did a very little dose and only got a buzz. This kind of made me a bit mad because I wanted someone there to be on my level, but oh well. It was still one of the most memorable trips to date and was definitely one of the most interesting. Stay safe while smoking Salvia. I saw the Salvia post yesterday, so it prompted me to tell you guys the Salvia trip that changed my outlook on life completely. I've told a few people parts of it, but no one seemed to grasp the terror and realism behind it. Freshman year, I was reading some Arrowid, saw Salvia, and heard a brief bit about its effects, and with an impulsive rush, I found a site that sold it. I'm not one to go halfway with things, so I found one of the highest potencies available and ordered that. I was with my best friend in my basement, packed about 2 grams into a small plastic bong, and cleared it. Immediately upon exhalation, my first hallucination began. I looked at the bong and saw the carb, which I hallucinated was a gaping hole in the side of the bong, and immediately thought I had smoked a hole through the bong. There was no doubt I just smoked half of my bong. This was the first and only time I remember speaking during the whole ordeal. I looked over to my friend with a face full of concern and wanted to say, I just smoked the whole fucking bong. But what came out was, I lost my balance as my eyes filled with monochromatic twisting swirls of colors. I fell against my basement wall and my second hallucination began. Upon contact with my wall, I fell through it. I jerked hard and opened my eyes. Half of my body was melted into the wall, vertically. I had 1 arm and 1 leg to maneuver. I looked up to my friend. He has a face full of complete horror. Holy fucking shit, you're stuck in the wall. Oh my fucking god. We scream in unison. What are we gonna tell my mom? Holy shit, fuck. This is arguably the most frightening moment of my life. This felt 100% real, and there was no doubt in my mind I was going to spend the rest of my life in that wall. I think to myself, what do I have to lose? I'm a fucking wall. So I yank half of my body as hard as I can, leave the wall, and the other half of my body slowly regrows, and I hit the floor. Upon contact, my third hallucination began. I was in the Toy Story alien vending machine, which was automatically cranking small robots out of itself onto a conveyor belt. This is all I remember, or even remembered from this hallucination. The next hallucination begins, and an immediate sense of impending doom hits my stomach. I look up at my ceiling, and a hand comes bursting through it. The hand grabs me by my neck and throws me into the atmosphere. This specific hand was Master Hand from Super Smash Bros., and at the time, I believed it was God. As I leave my ceiling and start flying through the atmosphere, my visual perspective wasn't through my own eyes as you would think, but from a cameraman's perspective on my basement floor. I was watching myself like a movie as I slowly exited this world, and my last thought was, so this is how it ends, and I completely accepted my death. Immediately upon accepting that I was dead, I regained control and snapped back into real life, laying on my basement floor with my friend completely mortified and staring at me. This whole ordeal felt like it took around 5 hours, but it was actually 6 minutes.